So now we start our administrative committee meeting with Dr. Cruz, and the time is 6:32. Agenda item, once again, 2.1, discussion on safety procedures and staff training.
Good evening, Board President Moreno, members of the board, and Ms. Edvillon. I just want to commend the board for making safety a priority for all of our students and staff members. We thank you for, allowing us to have our PD department and trainings. Mr. Saldana and the team already mentioned the annual trainings that we require of our staff. Those include, the AED trainings, bloodborne pathogen exposure prevention, health emergencies, abuse and suicide awareness. Then we have special trainings that are specific to certain populations, such as the coaching department must complete the concussion awareness, and there's a whole slew of trainings that are required for employment here in San Benito CISD. Additionally, our nurses, they are required to have training. They roll out training to the campuses as needed and on a yearly basis. So it's something that we take very seriously here. Do you have any further questions about safety?
Are there any more questions, comments? I know that we were talking about procedures. Did you still have any more questions on that? Rudy?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were referring. No, I did not.
Okay. One of the things I did bring up also already to Ms. Servillon is when it comes to safety procedures and our emergency management procedures, also making sure that when we do cover lockdowns, that it's not just a lockdown, because I've worked in the schools, so to me, a lockdown was just, you're sitting down at your desk as a child, you know that there's a lockdown, you don't try to minimize the noise and so forth, right? But I think that when it comes to active shooter trainings, that's more specific as to what they need to do when it comes to that, right? Instead of just having a lockdown training. So I think that drills for our campuses on active shooter trainings is important too. I know when I was here, unfortunately, we went through a situation and I was in charge of updating, and Ms. Servillon was part of it too, updating our emergency management plan that we had in place, and it was the first time that we had added the active shooter training. It was something that our assistant superintendent had given me the job to do, and we didn't have it in there as a district, and so we added it then, and I know that Mr. Saldaña said that they're looking into what's in place. Mr. Saldaña, I don't know if he can talk about that. Are you okay with that? As far as the emergency management as well when it comes to active shooters? What y'all are doing as a district? I mean, you don't have to give details because I know that that's.
Yes, and we do
supposed to
have
be
our
private.
emergency operations plan and our crisis plans for each campus.
Yeah, basically, we have our emergency operating plans that are very detailed. There's about 15, 16, 17, 18. We've even created 2 or 3 just because we wanted to have those plans in place for our district. But as far as the active, all the drills that we do, we stress for them to be done with fidelity. It doesn't do us any good to just walk through it. It doesn't work that way. So I do put a lot of pressure on our campus administration to make sure that they are run with fidelity. Before a drill is conducted, we have a pre-conference with the campus police officer assigned security, campus administration, key people of their administrative team. Sometimes I'll show up or sometimes chief, and what are the objectives? And it's a form that we created, or there's also one from the Texas Safety School Center. So we go over that. What do we want to accomplish? And then at the end of the drill, we have a post-conference. What were the highlights of our drill? What did we do well? What are those areas of concern? So we discuss that as a group, and then we come up with a plan of action on how we are going to correct those deficiencies that happened during that particular drill. But as far as what you're asking, I'm gonna let Chief talk about that. That's more of his line, but I know we're very limited in what we can say.
Right, on our drills, there are certain things that we do find wrong, so we try to mitigate those issues. And it differs campus to campus. Some staff are great at it, and some need a little bit of work on it. But that's where we come in, and we'll do the presentations with them on the do's and don'ts on these drills. And going back to the 540 drill, we want to implement a little bit more than just the basic lockdown procedures. So that's what we want to implement in the future, and we could discuss that further.
And we are going to include a component for our students so that they also have an awareness. So when we are going through these drills or procedures, they're more connected to why we are, drilling and going through those protocols. So that's important that they have an understanding, from the youngest to the oldest.
Right, and I work with clients from all over Texas, right? And I hear the stories of what has happened at other districts, and you all are doing the right thing and being proactive. I mean, the stories that I've heard are horrible about what some of the schools have done in other cities, And, I mean, to the extent of where some teachers knew what to do in an active shooter situation, and they were ready to make sure they defended those kids the best way that they could, gave books to the kids so they can hide under the books, gave them tools, I went through a training one time, and then they said, anything around you can be a tool that you can use, even a pencil or pen, And one of the teachers gave the kids scissors, to be able to defend themselves in case somebody walked into the room. But yet we had another teacher that caused them more trauma by saying, send messages to your parents, tell them you love them, because you're not going to see them again, and that's horrible. And we don't want that for our kids, And it's important that everything that y'all are doing is going to be beneficial to our campus. Hopefully, our campuses, hopefully we never go through anything, but it's always better to be prepared than not prepared. I know that, Chief Sosa, you all have also gone through some other trainings where you met with city officials and county officials.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you
We've
want
done
to?
tabletop exercises in Brownsville with the county, their emergency management coordinators, pertaining to a certain scenario at one of our schools. We had to play it out, plan it out, and it's a broad range of resources that are needed to handle these type of situations or events. And locally, we have a great working relationship with our city and our county partners. So I know even with our neighboring city to our west and north, we all came together, different agencies, and they've all pledged their support. If something were to happen within our city, we're getting support from different aspects of law enforcement and government.
Thank you all so much for caring and for being proactive about this. Any other questions, comments?
Just to piggyback on all of this, I know it's very difficult to discuss and even just to hear about all the things that we have in place that we have to go through because of the times that we live in and because of where we're at. But I do think, like Ms. Lopez said, it is very important that we do have that social emotional learning aspect of it as well. So I don't know if maybe like after a type of drill, there's also like a counseling session with the classes, a Q&A, just so that everybody's kind of just and I don't know if like we can involve parents in it. I know that we have to keep our safety protocols internally, but I don't know if parents can be present, or I don't know what would be the best way to show them what we do so that they can explain to their kids. I know Mr. Adusudi said that he does offer those types of pamphlets and things like that. But I mean, this is it's a very emotional thing to have to discuss with your child. And if, as a district, we can figure out a way to provide these resources to our parents and to our kids, I think that's gonna be the best thing.
I think what you're trying to say, and I'm not trying to put in your words, but I agree with what you're saying, Dr. Cruz. It's important to inform the parents as well as to what we're doing and what we have in place to educate their kids when a situation like this arises. But you're correct, a lot of this stuff is stuff that's handled internally. But if the district could provide trainings for the parents, that'd be great. Something we might need to look into.
Yeah, it's a very sensitive, everybody knows it's a very sensitive subject, and, it's, to bring it up and rehash it over and over again, it's not the first
Right.
time this has happened. I just think that, you know, like we said, like, you know, it's almost, I'm not gonna say it's almost like COVID, but it's almost the same whole situation again. You know, so I think what we need to do is, one thing we've always done as a district is continue moving forward and just providing the support for our staff and our kids and our parents. And just make sure that we keep on rolling out a plan that's always gonna be very proactive, you know, and be there for that support that they need, you know, holistically, you know, and I know we've always done it and we're gonna continue doing it. But right now, it's very difficult times, you know, and just to bring it up, you know, I mean, I'm a parent of a 12-year-old. So, you know, so of course, it's nerve-wracking, you drop them off at school and so on and so forth, but, you know, the thing is, it is what it is, and we just gotta continue moving forward and just provide the parents and our staff and the kids the safety they need. And we'll do everything we can as a district, as long as we're given the resources to do so. But, you know, yeah, it's a very sensitive subject, but just rest assured that, you know, everybody here has the best interest of our kids and our staff in place like we've always had. So, yeah, we need to just, you know, just tell the parents that we're doing everything we can to make sure their kids are safe here in San Benito CISD. Thank you, ma'am.
I think it speaks volumes when Mr. Arisudi said that the kids, when they were asked after the incident, when they were asked, they were pretty much unaffected, but it's the parents and like the community members that are the ones that are worried about things like this, just because of the fact that it is so prevalent in their lives. I know when I was in school, we had a couple lockdown drills, and I'm sure y'all are a bit older than me, like it wasn't as prevalent, these drills, and now these kids go through it every day, and it does take a lot out of them, and it takes a lot out of us as parents and community members to see our kids have to go through this. But I appreciate everything San Benito CISD is doing to keep our kids safe. I appreciate everything the staff does. Chief Sosa and your staff too. I mean, it's just amazing what we all do for our kids to make sure that they're safe.
Well, I think the best way to handle it is just through communication, rolling out our protocols, what we have in place. I mean, what we can communicate out. Obviously, if we're talking to our kids and they're going home, they're gonna tell their parents, hey, we went to this session, the 504 awareness training, and this is what we're supposed to do, and this is what it's about. And then also knowing that depending on the grade levels or the grade bands that are getting this information, you know, what their understanding is of it and how much information we give them and when it is too much. So I think that all comes back to how we're gonna communicate it out and all of us being on the same page. But for our parents to know that we are on top of it, you know, we know what is at stake and we want our kids safe. That is our number one priority, and we are going to continue to do that. And like I said, when it comes to the funding, we'll find a way to get it done, because you cannot put a price on our kids' safety.
And I just wanted to say, it is a sensitive subject, but it's not too sensitive for us to make sure that we're doing the right thing for our kids. That becomes an agenda item. Moving on to 2.2, review and discussion of 2022-23 position calendars.
Yes, thank you. These are the position calendars for the upcoming school year, 2022-23. We traditionally bring these as part of our compensation package. We're bringing them separate since our compensation package will follow very soon, but we wanted to communicate the start and end dates with our employees so that they can make their plans for the summer and for starting the new school year.
Are these literally the same like last year, or we're updating
They
them?
pretty much follow the same
Okay.
calendar as last year. We work from our academic calendar and then plan out the various categories of employees based on their calendar, 187 days, 197, 207, 226, and 215. This is an agenda item.
Any other questions or comments? Agenda item. Agenda item 3, review and discussion of holiday calendar for 260-plus employees.
Yes, we're bringing the 10 paid holidays for our 260-plus employees. Again, using our academic calendar as our model. We are recommending September 5th for Labor Day, November 24th and 25th for Thanksgiving, December 22nd, 23rd for Christmas, December 29th and 30th for New Year's, February 13th for Super Bowl or Valentine's Day, depending on, April 7th for Good Friday, and April 10th for Easter Monday.
I have a question.
Yes.
We met with the maintenance department and they told us that they weren't getting paid, they were getting paid 10 vacation days. And they were forced to get some of those days because nobody was working. I forgot what the holiday was. In July.
So these are our paid auxiliary holidays, right? They also receive 10 vacation days. We close as a district for the first week in July, so some of those days are used up for that week, just as our 226-day calendar is also affected.
For clarification, just real quickly, those days that are closed during July, that's just across the board. The district shuts down
The whole district
operations.
shuts down.
Okay.
That's right. Then they also receive their 5 state and 5 local days. And of course, it aligns with our district operations and
The pro-
academic
The
calendar.
problem here is that they're forced to take their vacation days. That's the problem, you know, so.
Yes, and that is an administrative decision where we close the district for a week.
The maintenance department?
But everybody that's at that type of a calendar, including administration, central office, the entire district's closed, so the first week we're off. Now, I know this probably started about 5-6 years ago, because before then, we had our 2 weeks, and we could take them throughout the year, right? Or the 10 days. That became problematic, with making sure that we had all the necessary people on staff. We can revisit it again, and I did talk to Dr. Cruz about it to see if we could revisit it again, to see how that would impact us, especially the summer.
I agree, it does need to be revisited because it's not fair to those that have to work during the summer. I know the district is off, but they're taking their vacation days, and that's
Yeah.
not fair to them, in my opinion, but.
That applies to all of us.
Yes.
Although even administrators, our district shuts down, and those are our days that we're forced to take in addition to.
I know,
yeah.
but it's not fair
I
to them,
understand.
yeah.
I understand.
But the issue here is, and I understand that everybody has to be off, but, you got salary employees that are still getting their days paid. And what happens to these hourly employees is that they're being forced to take that week off. They're not on salary. So either if they want to get paid, either they take those 5 days and get paid, or they just don't get paid at all, and that's 5 days that they take away from their 10 days of vacation, which later, if they wanted to use it later, let's say Christmas vacation or something, that's gonna cut down on their days. So that's the issue with the hourly employees that work the 187 days. And we've heard it from different departments, not just maintenance, because, you got hourly employees under 187 in different departments, bus drivers, cafeteria, security, right? So there's different departments that are affected by that. So it would be appreciated if y'all can look into that. I know that I've worked at a different district where they didn't shut down the entire district, and those hourly employees kept working, of course, under certain supervision as well,
Is there maybe I know this happens sometimes, so if they have to take those 5 days off, that means they can't make their vacation longer? Like they're not allowed to take the days before or days after?
Off the top of my head, I cannot recall, or I don't have that knowledge of who has requested vacation days when. But they do need to request them in advance so that we can plan and make sure that we have all of our summer projects done, and so that our schools are ready for our students to be received.
So your question is, they have the first week off, and if they want to use 3 more of their days right after that week or right before that week, and it would have to be after, because that's another school year, July 1st. So it would have to be after. Your question is, could they take those 3 days the next week and make it 8 days, right?
Correct. Like, is
Yeah,
that
it's a-
is that being forbidden, and that's kind of,
No, it's up to, the supervisor signs off on that. I know that I did sign off on someone that did pair up their 2 weeks together because they were going out of state. So, again, that first week, we're all off. It impacts everybody's vacation days because that week we are closed. So, we do not, those vacation days or those, opportunities to take your days somewhere else are gone for everyone. I know that initially it commenced, I was here when it commenced. I myself was like, wow, there goes my 5 days, but, I know initially it was because we were trying to align our work schedules. And also it saved money to close down for a whole week, with our utilities, et cetera. So we will revisit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item. Agenda item number 4, review and discussion of the 2022-23 Texas Teacher Evaluation System Support Appraisal Calendar.
Yes, our teachers are evaluated using the T-test instrument. Again, this coming year, we will be using that instrument. And this calendar is in alignment with the dates as required by the system, by the evaluation system. And so we bring this every year. It's updated to a slightly new format so that it's easier for our employees to read. And we're requesting that this be approved.
Are there any
Placed on the
questions or
agenda,
comments?
excuse me.
So that becomes an agenda item. Moving on to number 5, review and discussion of the 2022-23 Texas Principal Evaluation and Support System Appraisal Calendar.
Yes, the TPAS, the Texas Principal Evaluation Support System, is the evaluation that we use to appraise our principals, assistant principals. This is their timeline that we will be following for this coming school year.
No, I just have because of issues that we've had in the past and we brought up previously, do we have, or are you working on making those assignments as to who will be responsible for doing the administrator evaluations of principal appraisals?
Yes, sir. So we've already started. So as you know, the TPAS, you do set up your goals at the end of the year for the coming year. We've already done that. So at the beginning of the school year, we will also be having our initial beginning of the year conferences with each principal to make sure, because by then we'll have our scores that are solidified through TEA, and we can address those, at a deeper level.
Thank you.
And as Mr. Moreno said, I know that there were some issues in the past, and it was very upsetting to know that things were not getting done the way they should get done, and so I appreciate Ms. Servillon taking care of those things. Any other questions or comments?
No, just a quick comment. So hopefully after this process is set in place, hopefully we can get some more updates, ma'am, a lot quicker, faster, as far as how it's being used, as far as how they evaluate the certain processes. So if there is any concerns out there, okay, we can hear them a lot earlier and address them with our superintendent or interim superintendent to make sure that they get done correctly. Thank you.
I think that is the reason for the appraisal calendar. The appraisal calendar is laid out so we know the timeline. So there is an end of the year conference, beginning of the year conference, middle of the year conference, and then end of the year conference again. And the reason is because T-TEST and TPES are growth instruments. So you sit down and set your goals, right? You want to check and see if you are moving towards your goal, or do you need to revisit that goal, or do you need to adjust that goal, or is that goal not necessary? You sit down with your appraiser, and those are the conversations, rich conversations you have. You triangulate your data, you collect data. You look at student grades, you look at student discipline reports, referral reports, you look at attendance records, you look at STAR scores, you look at formative assessment, CBAs, campus-based assessments, and you get all that data, and that should be the way you progress monitor whether you are going to reach those goals. Those goals are always connected to student performance and student success. This is exactly why we have an appraisal calendar. So from the go, it's laid out, it gives you a timeline, there's a window of time to sit down and set those goals and revisit those goals.
And my
what is-
comment for that was the comment that I made in reference to, yes, I agree, I'm very familiar with TPES, I'm part of TPES, is that those three different components, especially the goal setting is a given, it's done at the end of the year, but there are processes, there are timelines, there's the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, the end of the year, and that's the appraisal instrument that each district utilizes, and my concern was that those processes were not being done. And so from here on out, my expectation would be that we ensure that those processes are being followed.
Okay, so can we just make sure it does get followed to the fidelity that it's supposed to be done?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So for this past year, we didn't have any of those data?
I guess if I give you a recap, we did not do our BOYs and our EOYs, which BOY is beginning of year, EOY is end of year. So at mid-year, we set our goals, and then they were revisited in May. So it was a abbreviated manner in which to do it, but next year we will do it within the time, allotted time.
So there wasn't an end of the year done this year?
There was an end of the year, yes.
Okay.
It was conducted.
One of the things, being that I had worked in the district before, I had seen a lot of changes taking place in our district in the last few years. And one of the things that I did tell Ms. Servillon, that I felt that there were certain things that were too laxed. I know that this is not going to be popular with everybody, right? But I feel that we need to make sure that everybody's held accountable and that we're providing the best services to our students. We've done a lot of great things, but there's always room for improvement.
Look, I just want to go on the record and say, I just want to thank, I've been here 5 years, I just want to thank all the people that have worked here and have done a great job for our kids and educated our kids from administration all the way down to, our support staff. Every single one has done a tremendous job, and I've seen it. So, as for me, I just want to thank everybody for working extremely hard during this time. And everybody puts in 100%. Everybody's, that's why they come to work. It's to teach kids and impact kids on a daily basis, and so on and so forth. So I just want to thank everybody that's been part of this team, thus far, or not here anymore, but I just want to thank them so much for impacting our kids. Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions, concerns? Okay, that becomes an agenda item. And at this time, we adjourn our meeting at 6:58. Thank you.